This show is sponsored by ODYS Global. Make sure that you do sign up and get a free $100 bonus by checking out ODYS Global's Age Domains or Done For You affiliate websites. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 31 of SEO Tales, where it's again Itamar Blower and myself giving you some tips and advice. And the topic of this week is going to be whether you start out with an age domain or go with a brand new domain, and the pitfalls of and benefits of both sides of the argument. And we were talking off here, just what kind of things can we give to you guys in terms of episodes and knowledge. And we do often feel that some people think using an expired domain is a great idea because they hear a lot of people talking about it, but they don't understand why sometimes they're using it, or maybe some of the pitfalls that may come with using an expired domain. So we're going to go into that and obviously talk about the benefits of both sides of the coin. But if you do like the content, do give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate any support. But Itamar, someone who's new to the blogging type of thing, you've recently put up your own website. I know it's like 6 months or 9 months or whatever the hell it is, but you're still relatively new in terms of what domain you went with. And I think we've shared it on a previous episode. You had your Rock Yeti domain name, and we were in a Zoom call and everyone was kicking the crap out of us, saying, what the fuck? Why have you selected this domain? And obviously I know that comes down to your passion in music and stuff like that, and you thought that that might be quite a cool thing to do, but obviously people had their opinions on why you maybe shouldn't use that, and you might want to use your own name to build a brand and all of that stuff. So just want to talk to you a bit about the thought process first and foremost when it comes to launching a blog. Obviously you're sitting there thinking, fuck, what am I going to call myself? Is it going to be something to do with music? What made you pick Rock Yeti? Is it the music thing, or what was going through your head?
Not much, to be honest. I mean, it was more like, the guy who was going to be the kind of co-founder of the agency we were trying to start. It was more just kind of coming up with random things, and then that I can't exactly remember how it came up. It was quite random, but I think that just goes to show that most of the time, if you're going to be starting to blog or you're going to start a company or whatever, there needs to be much more thought behind the name, because the name is very important. It's not just how you perceive yourself. It's not about the identity you're trying to portray to the world, but at the end of the day, people are going to have to find it and search for it and see it in one way or another. So in that sense, getting the name right is very important. Now the question is, of course, do you go for a brand new domain or do you go for an old one? So the thing that I would say, if you're starting out, it can be quite dangerous if you're going to go for an old domain. So if you go for an expired domain when you're just starting out and you don't know much about SEO, for example, that may be problematic. And some of the main reasons why that could be the case is the domain could have been filled with a bunch of spam, or maybe it had terrible links, or it maybe got a manual penalty in the past, but you don't know that because you're a beginner. And that's a problem that many beginners have, because they'll go for a domain based on the name, and they'll think, okay, I can buy this domain. It's going to cost me a few £100, a few £1,000, but it's a really cool name. I really like it. But they don't do the due diligence because they don't know how. So when you're starting out, there's so many things that you need to take into consideration. I think if you are looking for expired domains, you need to look at the backlink profile. You need to check the history of the site, go on Wayback Machine, take a look at it, and all these kind of stuff that most of the time beginners aren't going to be able to do. Now, on the other side of the equation, we've got new domains. right? And new domains obviously are going to start off with basically no power at all, because it's a brand new domain. There's no links associated with it. There's no content associated with it. So you have to build that up yourself. But I think when it comes to picking the name, you just need to make sure that it's something relevant to what you're going to be doing. So don't make the mistake that I did initially, and the mistakes I made. It went further. I fucking trademarked the term as well. So I spent more money on that for no reason, right? Sounds ridiculous, but that's the other lesson as well. It's really important to, if you are going to pick a new name, it has to be something that's relevant to what you're providing. So if you're going to start doing something to do with an agency, have the word digital in there, or have the word marketing in there, something like that. And if it's just for you as a blogger, you could use your own name. I'm quite fortunate that I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in the world with my name. But even then, you want to make sure that you can secure that. And I know Craig bought my domain name before I could, and then he was going to make me pay a lot more for it, but at the end of the day, just gave it to me for free after the time rolled out when you can transfer it. So that was nice. That was nice of you. But I think try and look for domain names, especially if you're a new blogger, something that's relevant to what you're going into. If it can be your own name, then that's great. Personal branding is really important nowadays, so consider that as well. But Craig, what do you think? Is there a different thought process that a beginner might have when it comes to choosing an age domain versus a new one?
I mean, I think when beginners think about these things, they don't know what they're thinking. Just like that, and you're the perfect example of that. You're starting out and you're going, fuck, I'm into music, so Rock Yeti's quite a cool thing. And people then come in and say, well, Itamar, that doesn't say what you do. It's crap. It's what the hell's Rock Yeti got to do with marketing or SEO or whatever? That and that's why you took the beating that you took. Now, people can equally argue that Itamar Blower doesn't say anything about SEO or marketing either, but you're building a brand. That's the long-term goal there, and you could potentially do that with Rock Yeti as well. But I think if you can have a keyword in there, have it. It's not necessary, but if you're going to long-term build a self-brand like Neil Patel or whatever, do you know what I mean? You're going to be doing a lot of video, and you're going to be doing a lot of social, and you're going to be doing a lot of other stuff. So people will know you, and your brand will then become associated with that domain. So I think you've got to think whether of the bigger picture. How are you going to pitch yourself? Now, if you were going to say, I'm going to use Itamar Blower, and I'm not going to do YouTube, and I'm not really going to become a popular figure, then you might want to change that to like Itamar Blower Digital or Itamar Blower SEO or marketing or whatever it might be, because people won't know what the hell Itamar Blower is, and would, in terms of click-through rate and the general public, if they're faced with, say, 3 websites, now I know there's 10 in the top search results, but the top 3 results say, such and such marketing, such and such digital, and Itamar Blower. The chances are, if they've never heard Itamar Blower, he's not getting a click. They're going to go for someone that's got marketing, and you've got to think of the bigger picture. So, I think it's perfectly fine the Itamar Blower for if you're going to be in YouTube, you're going to do SEMrush stuff, you're going to do all of this stuff. Building a self brand is certainly the way to go. I think long term, but if you are that shy guy, you have to I think have something in that domain name that would encourage someone to click in your website. Otherwise, you're going to be missing an opportunity. That said, there's always going to be counter arguments to everything we say. Anyway, someone out there will say, "Oh, he could have used Rock Yeti. These guys were ladling into him for no reason, and he should have been allowed to do whatever he wanted." Now, no one obviously forced you to change, but I think the general consensus was Rock Yeti is just not a good domain for a marketer at all. Just doesn't see anything at all to do with it. So I think you've got to use a bit of common sense when you're thinking about it, and think of that bigger picture, not just what you enjoy or what you think's cool, and obviously how you're going to approach the marketing yourself. Now, you've mentioned that expired domains come with a lot of bad things. They could have been spammy and stuff like that. They do come with some positives as well, where they do come potentially with a backlink profile, some history, and that can get you off the ground running. But again, that can be good if you're just doing a generic blog or something like that relating to digital marketing, and you find a marketing expired domain name, you do your due diligence, and you can run with that. But I think for most people starting out, I would probably advise you to ignore expired domains and try and think of the bigger picture, where you're going, where you're going to be in 5 or 10 years' time, and how you're going to climb that ladder to being the next Neil Patel or whatever it's going to be, and think about building a brand. I think that's the way it's going. You know, people buy into people. They don't necessarily just buy into such and such digital or whatever. Do you know what I mean? They want to buy a trusted source, and it's the same as anything in life, really. You know, we want to use the best, you know, guy for this or the best guy for that. So I think really becoming a specialist in something and building a brand around that is the best way to go. And for me, you probably have to look at a new domain name with a long-term view to building that brand, unless you are fortunate enough, you know, that there is a really good brandable age domain out there. And there are some out there, but you're obviously likely to pay a premium for it. You can actually go to ODYS. They've got amazing brandable domains, but there's not that many of them on the marketplace. So if hordes of you are going to be doing that, then you're going to find it hard. So as I say, there's pitfalls to everything, Itamar, and opinions on everything. And, you know, as I say, you suffered a lot of guys' opinions one night drunk on Zoom and had your whole thing torn to shreds. But the last thing I'm going to say is, on that is, you know, you stupidly jumped in two-footed, trademarked it. You didn't sit back and think. And I think that's the mistake I would say many people, I've done it. I've jumped in two-footed into niches and projects myself without thinking of the bigger picture. Sometimes you just have to sit back, bounce ideas off of people, and then make a decision before you start jumping in and trademarking stuff. You've got to be sure that that's the right thing to do, even though you're keen and eager, and you might be sitting there going, oh, I'm going to be the next big thing, and I'm going to trademark this, and I'm going to do that. Great thought process, but how many guys have done that, and then someone's told that domain to shreds? So how much did it cost you to trademark that stuff, by the way, out of curiosity?
It was only about £100, so it wasn't too much in the grand scheme of things. And I think also importantly, the domain was new, and I only paid the £10 to register it. So, you know, you could imagine how serious, or how much more serious it could have been if I had spent that money, let's say, on a premium expired domain, which might have cost me £1,000, and then you kind of you ask a couple friends, and then they tear it to shreds, and then, you know, it feels shit, number one, and number two, you've wasted a lot of money. So that's why I think it's important, if you are going to be serious about a long-term approach, reach out to your friends, reach out to people and ask for their opinions, because it's always important to get other people's opinions, because you're obviously going to have some kind of bias, and that's just natural. So whatever name you're kind of thinking of going for, you're going to have a bias towards it, and you're going to speak positively about it. Whereas you ask someone and they might absolutely hate it, and they don't have that bias. Even if they're your friends, they're going to try and help you. So definitely when it comes to the process of picking a domain, definitely get other people's opinions if you can, because that's going to also give you a reality check in terms of whether or not that's a valuable idea to go for, especially if you're thinking into the long term.
Yeah, so yeah, as I said, there's not much else you can really add here other than just don't dive in two-footed, and do not just go for an expired domain because you read videos where affiliate marketers are using expired domains to get a head start on things. There are sometimes benefits to using expired domain names, but if you're starting out, you do want that ability to build a brand and work slowly towards your goal, rather than, you know, potentially me grabbing an expired domain name to try and make a new book affiliate website, you know, and try to cut corners. Of course I can do that, I've got the experience and knowledge on and understand the full benefits of everything when doing that. But you know, I just think a lot of people hear people talking about expired domain names and just do it and then go, yeah, because so and so said it on YouTube, you know. So I've now built my brand around some dodgy expired domain name, and you know, they've taken the context of using that expired domain name and twisted it into, you know, maybe start my self brand, and that's where it, you know, becomes sketchy and you know, not cost effective. You know, you're throwing money down the toilet pan effectively by making these mistakes. So you know, as I say, there's pros and cons to both sides of the argument, and it really depends on what you want to do. Not dismissing expired domains at all, but for you guys that are watching that do want to start out on a blogging career or building an agency or whatever it might be, try and, you know, build a self brand or whatever, and also don't let a sneaky guy like me jump in and grab your domain name while you're talking about it, because that is exactly what I've done with Itamar. He's like, oh, I might buy itamarblauer.com, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm buying that right now. And just to tease him, by the way, I was never going to charge him a premium for it. I just wanted to see his reaction when he went to buy it and it was gone. Yeah, so just beware, because, you know, although we're friends and the domain ended up in your hands after the 60-day period, because you can't transfer a .com for 60 days, do not give your competition or anyone else for that matter the chance to get the upper hand on you. Buy before you start talking about it. And I think it's always a good idea to buy your own name if it's available. Sadly for me, you know, CraigCampbell.com is sat unused by a guy that's had it for 10 years and he just doesn't respond to his emails. So I wasn't lucky enough to be one of those guys that owns his own domain name, but you are, Itamar, and I think a lot of people out there actually done the same thing as I done to you, to Ross Tavendale as well. It was we were actually supposed to be speaking at a conference in London, and I was doing a talk on domains or something, and I thought, fuck, Ross Tavendale let his .co.uk expire. So he was also supposed to be speaking at the event, and me and Ross always try and throw each other under the bus. So I had this slide made up with his domain on it, and, you know, me purchasing it and all that stuff. And then he pulled out of the talk like the night before. He couldn't make it. He had like a big client meeting or whatever, and obviously he went for the client meeting rather than doing the talk at the meet up that we were supposed to be talking at. So it went down like a lead balloon when I was telling that joke, and he wasn't there to laugh at it. It went down like a lead balloon, as I say. But yeah, I got Ross with that one as well. But, you know, I think always buying your own domain name or your own name is a good idea, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And again, so if you are going to be speaking to people about the ideas that you've got for names, make sure that they're people who might not think to jump on it and buy it straight away if they know what they're doing. But I mean, then again, you know, you gotta, and it's all down to your network. You know, you always gotta surround yourself with people who you can trust, and obviously that's really important because they'll give you the best advice as well. So I think on that note, we can pretty much end it there. So yeah, that's been episode 31, I believe, of SEO Tells. So thanks so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, rating, and subscribe. So we'll see you guys next week.